Your cybersecurity solution is here. Introducing Pentester's Advanced Cybersecurity Suite. Ready for peace of mind? Try it for free. No credit card required. Pentester.com.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anthony Ruggiano Jr. I want to welcome everybody to Informed Gangsters. And if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Also, don't forget to check out my Patreon channel. I got a lot of new content coming up. I've been in New York a few times. I did some stuff with Sammy. So if you want to check it out, go to Patreon. Membership started at $1. Also, don't forget about my store. I got some good merch on there. Christmas is coming. I got T-shirts and hats and mugs. So check that out. So, I was thinking about what to talk about tonight. And, I've been getting a lot of DMs from people about, the life, how it was when I was out there. And if I miss it or I wish I could go back. And it's funny because do I miss it? Sometimes I do. I got to be honest. I mean, even though it was a life of debauchery and, and not, but yeah, of course I miss it. I miss it at times. I mean, I'm content today, but, but I still miss it. And, people want to know what I miss the best about it, and it's like in the movie Goodfellas, in the beginning of the movie, how lively everything was, going out all the time and drinking and partying and making money, scores and money rolling in and nice clothes and nice cars. And, I miss all that. I miss all the flash, like I think my generation was the last generation of mob guys to really have it good. Like, I don't think the mob guys today that are around today are as recognized as we were or live the way we did. Like, first of all, there are no clubs to go to. So that's number one. There's no nightclubs. There's no discos. I mean, I don't know where these kids go today. I don't know where they go out, So like in my day in Manhattan, every night a club had a night. Every night. Monday night was the China Club. Tuesday night was Adam's Apple. Every night was a different club. And we had carte blanche. I miss that. I miss just walking indoors. Not waiting on lines. I miss we had the ticket brokers. I miss sitting in orchestra seats at Broadway plays, front row at concerts. We had all the ticket brokers. I mean, we had the keys to the city. That's what I miss. I miss having the keys to the city. I miss that. I miss the action. I miss the money rolling in. I miss some of the guys. I miss some of the guys I ran with that are still out there. I miss my partner. I miss people out there that I used to run with, that I hung out with every day, morning, noon, and night, that I went to jail with, that I cried with, that I laughed with. We baptized each other's kids. We, best mans at each other's weddings. We went to, each other's family funerals. I miss them. I miss that. I miss a couple of them. But, on the flip side, I don't miss going to jail. I don't miss being followed all the time by law enforcement. I don't miss hurting people. I don't miss robbing people. I don't miss that. I don't miss the worry. Not really the worry. I really never worried when I was out there. I always knew that going to jail was part of the job back then, and I really was never worried. But so I miss stuff, and then some stuff I don't miss. But do I wish I could go back and start over? Not really. Today, the difference today is I'm probably content today. Back then I wasn't content, that's why I lived the way I lived. But so that's what I miss about it. I miss the action. I miss having the keys to the city. That's basically it in a nutshell. We had the keys to the city. I mean, like everywhere we went, doors were open for us. We went to all the big fights in the Garden. I mean, I saw everybody fight: Ali, Frazier, Duran. I mean, I could go on and on. The fights I went to, sat in ringside seats. The concerts I saw, sat in the front row. I went to all the big clubs, never waited online. Broadway, front row seats at Broadway plays. I mean, that's what I miss. I miss that. I miss having financial freedom to go wherever I want because we made a lot of money. So, at any time I just wanted to blow out to go to Miami or go gamble, go to Atlantic City, lose 10,000 at the dice table. I would go to Atlantic City. I'd comp in every casino in Atlantic City back in the 90s. Those are the things I miss. But on the flip side, because of all those things, I gave up watching my kids grow up. I did 14 years in prison. I hurt my family. I committed acts of violence. So, I guess at the end of the day, it really wasn't worth it.
People ask you if you missed the mob. I think everybody, I'm 52, everybody our age and up misses their glory days, so to speak. So I think that's a big part of it.
Without a doubt. I guess those are my glory. In the 70s, it was really, really good for me when I was, out there in the street. It was really good for me from when I started in 1969 to 1978. It was great. I mean, I was young. We were making tons of money. We had the keys to the city. It was really, really good. Then I went to jail in 78. When I came out of jail at the end of 80, it was different. It was a little different. But it was good. It was good. My father was in Florida. I was going back and forth from Florida to New York. And then my father got arrested in 84. From 84 to 88, for me personally, it wasn't good because that's when I had my issues with drugs. And my father was fighting cases. I was going back and forth. I was living in hotels. It was just a dark period in my life. I was living in hotels. John Gotti had become the boss, which was a good thing for us anyway. That was a good thing. John Gotti became the boss. But for me personally, on a personal level, my father went on trial 3 times in Miami. So I was living in hotels with my wife, Alice, and my son was an infant. I was living in hotels. I was, messing around with a lot of cocaine, drinking, so from 84 to 88 was probably like a dark time for me. And then naturally in 88, I got clean. Thank God I got clean. And then it became good again. The mob life became good again. I started making a lot of money. I got my respect back. John Gotti was the boss. He liked me. I was running. I was making crazy money, and all the doors were open to me again. I had the keys to the city again. I was, comping every casino in Atlantic City, going to all the fights today. I was living great, living large. I got remarried. I had another baby, a daughter. But, and then the roof caved in, just like every other mob story. Then, 5 o'clock in the morning in 1995, my doorbell rang and, and I got dragged out of my house in handcuffs, and that's the dark side of it. And then, then 95 and then in 96, I went away and I didn't come home again until 2004. And then I got arrested again for murder, so it was good and it was bad. But the bad at the end of the day overcame the good because all the money's gone. The money's all gone. I can't get the 14 years back I spent in prison. I can't see my kids grow up again. I can't, I sacrificed a lot for that, for the glory days.
If you had to pick one club from the glory days to have another night in, back in the day, obviously we're just talking shit. Which would you pick?
Oh, the Copacabana, without a doubt. The Copacabana. I mean, there's nothing like the Copa. The Copa was the pinnacle. You know what I mean? That was it. Especially, look who I saw there. I saw James Brown. Now, not a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people of my age and older could, remember the Copa, but not everybody went to the Copa because not everybody could get into Copa. Not everybody could afford the Copa. But, so the Copa, when you walked into the Copa, you walked in and you came right to the hat check, where the hat check, and to the right was the Copa Lounge, was a big lounge, big brown bar, and they had a trio, always had like a little band playing up there. Like even the entertainers that played the Copa Lounge became big stars, you know? So they had the Copa Lounge was when you walked into the right was the lounge, and then to the left was steps, because the actual Copa was in the basement of the building. It was in the, and you walked down to the steps into the showroom, and it wasn't really that big. And it was tables around like this on a reel, and then there was tables down on the floor, and then there was the bandstand. So like the entertainers were right in your lap. James Brown, I saw James Brown there. I saw Bobby Darin. I saw, Tom Jones, Don Rinkles. I mean, these are world-renowned stars. They're right, it was like amazing. That's by far was the best club and the whiskey and the Chinese food. And people forget they had the best Chinese food in Manhattan. We would go out. This is what we basically. So this is a Saturday night. Saturday night we spent with our wives. We would go out. We would go to Peter. I'll give you a scenario one night. So I'm out for dinner. My father, my wife Alice, who I was married at the time, we were dating. My mother and my father. It's Saturday. We go to Peter Luger's for dinner. That was basically, we went there every Saturday. We go to Peter Luger's in Williamsburg for dinner. And James Brown is at the Copa. We know James Brown's at the Copa tonight. Me and my mother and Alice, we know James Brown's at the Copa. So now we tell my father says, what he's, now this is how the keys to the city, how the mob had keys to the city. James Brown, one of the biggest stars in the world, is at the Copacabana. We have no reservation, no nothing. Excuse me. We're in the Peter Luger's eating dinner. And we tell my father, come on, take us to the Copa. We want to see James Brown. I don't want to see James Brown. I said, no, come on. Me and Alice want to see James Brown. Let's go to the Copa. Take us to the Copa. We want to see James Brown. So he relents, and we eat dinner in Peter Luger's, and we get in the car, and we go to the Copa. We get to the Copa. We park the car. There must have been 1,000 people in the street. The line around the block. I mean, there must have been that white, black, yellow, green, every nationality in the world was out there. The line was tremendous. How did we get in? Just like in the movie, through the basement, up through the kitchen. We got in the night of the show. We get a table for 4, and now we just stayed in Peter Luger's. James Brown comes on, fabulous. I mean, he was great. He was great. They were dancing on the chairs. Right on, James. They were dancing on the chairs, throwing shit up at him. He was singing, dancing. And I caught my father. I caught him like he couldn't help it, I caught my father bopping in the seat, With a night. I have pictures of it. I still have the picture because the Copa girls used to come around and take pictures. I have a picture of the 4 of us that night at the Copa, and we ate Chinese food. And after Peter Luger's, you got to go to the Copa and eat Chinese food. It was phenomenal. And we saw, and then not only did we get this, not only did I like the Copa that much, and then because at the end of the shows, a lot of times we got to meet the stars, like because Carmine, he was the head maitre d' of the Copa. He ran the Copa for Julius Fidel, this guy Carmine. He was the head guy, and he loved Tony Lee and my father. I mean, he loved them, and he would always bring out most of the time the entertainers to meet us. Like he brought Don Rinkles out to meet us. Don Rinkles was pinching my cheek. We were up in the lounge. He brought him up to the lounge to meet my father. And Don Rinkles going, is this the guy I got to be nice to? Is this the guy I got to be nice to? And he was pinching. I was with Jay Black, the singer from Jay and the Americans, him and his wife, me and Alice, and my father and mother, the 6 of us. And we went to see Don Rinkles, and we sat on the rail because my father didn't want to sit up front because, he picks on everybody. And then after the show, they brought him up to the lounge to meet us, and he was pinching my cheek. He had a fur coat on, a mink coat on he had because it was in the winter. I met him. They brought out Bobby Darin to meet us. He took pictures with us. I still have the pictures of Bobby Darin with my wife, Alice. He took a picture with my wife, Alice, my sister. I'll tell you a story about Bobby. Well, let's take this because this is a good story about the culprit. So now my sister's graduating from grammar school from 8th grade, right? And Bobby Darin's at the Copa. So we loved Bobby Darin. I mean, he was a big star. Bobby Darin, he was phenomenal. He played it. This was the second time I would be seeing him. I already had seen him once, but guy played every instrument. Especially when you see these people at the Copa, you appreciate it so much more because they're right in front of you. I mean, he played every instrument, the drums, everything, sang, danced, the guitar, joke, was a great comedian. I mean, he was phenomenal. So my sister's graduate, I have pictures of that too from the Copa of all of us. So I pictures, my sister's graduating and we go to the Copa. We actually had 2 tables at the Copa. My father takes the whole family. We all go to the Copa to see Bobby Darin. It's 2 tables we had, right? And we're there, and we're at the Copa. And my father tells Carmine that to bring Bobby Darin out after the show because to meet my sister, because my sister was like, loved him, and she was a kid, she wanted to meet him. So we watched the show, he's great. The show ends, no Bobby Darin. So Carmine comes over, he's all nervous. My father goes, where's Bobby Darin? He goes, oh, please, he left. He said to tell you he was too busy, he didn't want to come out. My father goes, oh, really? He was too busy? I had no problem, don't worry about it. And we leave. The next day, my father comes home. He tells my sister to get dressed. So we're all sitting there and we're all look. My mother goes, get dressed. Where are you taking her? He goes, I'm taking her to the Copa. To the Copa? He goes, yeah. He took him and my sister. He went back to the Copa and he told Carmen, you tell that fucking Bobby Darin that I'm here again with my daughter. My sister came home that night with autographs, with pictures, with albums. He was going to fucking kill Bobby Darin. He was so mad. He went to the Copa, just him and my sister. That was it. But that was probably the best club I went in. I mean, discos. There was a lot of good ones, but they're just all carbon copies of a disco is a disco, but the Copa was that was the place. I mean, that was a heck of a place. Copa. It's a shame there's no more Copacabanas anymore.
And since we talked so much about the Copa, go into how the 5 families all had a piece of it, and it was a no-no zone for violence and mischief.
So the Copa was owned. The Copa was owned by the 5 heads of the families. The bosses owned the Copa, and this guy Julius Spadell, he was the guy. He was the figurehead. He ran it. He was there every night. He sat at a table. When you walked into the Copa, the basement to the showroom, there was a table right here when you walked in, and that was Julius Spadell's table. He was always at that table. I met him 100 times there. My father used to go over and talk to him, and Tony Lee would go over and talk to him. And the 5 bosses had a piece of the Copa. Whoever was the bosses got an end of the Copa. That's why everybody went there. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Jerry, I mean, every star in the world went there. But they had a really good thing. What he would do, Julius Spadell, he would seek out people that were like up and coming and sign them to contracts. And then if they blew up, like Tom Jones, when Tom Jones appeared at the Copa, he was like Elvis when he appeared at the Copa, but he had a contract with Julius Spadell when he was a nobody. They signed him. But so the 5 heads of the 5 families were silent partners in the Copa, and you couldn't fight in the Copa. That was like, you didn't mess around in the Copa. My father got in trouble. My father had a fist fight in the Copa. My father had a fight with another wise guy in the Copa, this guy, Philly the Brush. They had a fight on the stairwell, going down the stairs they had a fight on the stairwell because my old man was out with a couple of guys, because my old man used to go there with his crew and hang out at the lounge. Wouldn't even go down and see the show. They used to drink at the lounge because a lot of mob guys hung out up at the lounge. Like during the week, if they were in Manhattan, they would just go to the Copa Lounge because they had good entertainment in the lounge. So they would just go to the lounge and drink, eat some Chinese food, have a trio there, just to hang out. It was like a great place to go. And there was a beef broke out, and a guy with my father, this guy Larry, Susan Emile, pinched this girl. They were drunk, and she pinched this girl's ass, and it was this wise guy, Philly the Brush's girlfriend, and And my old man knew it, and my old man made all his friends leave. And he stood there by himself because he didn't want them to get in trouble if they raised their hands to anybody. So he made his crew leave, and he stood there by himself, and he fought like 6 guys. My old man, they jumped him on the stairwell. They started throwing punches at him on the stairwell, and he started fighting back. He knocked a couple of them out, and that was a big sit down. He got in a little trouble for that. That was a big sit down with Gambino and everybody. That was he got in a little trouble for that, and they blew it off like, oh, I don't know who he was. I don't know. We didn't know we didn't know each other, but they knew each other. Philly and my old man knew they were both friends. They were both wise guys, but they played it off. They didn't know. Yeah, and they got reprimanded. But you would get killed there. You'll get killed if you fucked around in there. But you go into any given night, you'll see. I mean, I went in there, John Gotti. I remember I was a kid in there, and John Gotti was in there. He was a kid too. He was probably in his late 20s, early 30s. He was in there with Andrew Quack. They were in there. We ran into. I mean, we used to run into everybody in there.
What was Fat Andy's life like going out, and what was a regular week in the glory days of Fat Andy?
He was a party animal. He was a party animal. He went out. He used to stay home. He would stay home on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He would stay home. He wouldn't go out at all. He would stay home on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Saturdays, he would stay home, but then he would go out every Saturday with my mother. Every Saturday. He went out. Sundays, he would stay home with us. We would go by my grandmother's house for dinner, and then he would bring us home like 7, 8 o'clock, and he would go out. He was a party animal. He was out every night. He was out in clubs every night. He was out in clubs, bars. He would go to Brooklyn. He always owned his own bars. He loved to drink and eat. My father loved music, food, and alcohol. Loved it. Loved it. Yeah. And sports. He liked boxing and baseball. He loved boxing, took us to all the fights. All the fights. When we were kids, me and my brother, he took us to see, we saw everybody fight, professional championship fights. He loved the fights, and he loved baseball. He loved the Yankees, and he used to take me and my kid brother to Yankee Stadium all the time and come to all our Little League games. But he was a party animal.
All that said, do you think he had a good balance? It sounds like he had a good balance of family.
No, he had no good balance. He didn't have a good balance. No, definitely not. No, he didn't have a good balance at all. No, he didn't have a good balance.
Now, when he went out and partied, did he come home? Like, did he have another place like in the movies, or what was that?
No, he used to come home. He never had his. He had one girlfriend that he bought her a house. But he wouldn't stay there. He always came home. He never stood out overnight. Like he always came home. He never stood out. He would come home 4, 5, 6 in the morning, but he never would stay out around the clock. Like go out at 6 o'clock at night and come home the next night. That he never did. He never did that.
And then back to the Copa. Your dad went there with Sonny Franzese, right?
Everybody, yeah. My father went there with Neil Delacroce, the underboss, the captains, everybody. Yeah. They had the run of the Copa, just like in Goodfellas. They had the keys to the Copa. They had the keys to the door. Yeah, I mean, listen, the night of the show, we got in to see James Brown. You think a regular Joe Schmo from the street could have got into the Copa that night? No way. Yeah. But don't forget, that we tipped them, these guys made big money. These captains that worked in the Copa, they made big money. Back then, you give somebody $20, $30, that was a lot of money in the 70s.
Yeah.
So if they get 6, 7 wise guys in a night, and they get $20 a head, or that, you walk out there for $200 in 1972. That's a lot of money. 200 a night, whatever. They're there every night.
Glory days.
You know how many dates I got because of the Copacabana? Girls I would go out. Don't forget, I'm 18, 19 years old. I'm getting into the Copacabana. I walk into a bar, and there's a 25, 26-year-old knockout barmaid and I'm in the bar, I'm putting $100 bill on the bar, right? Because I had it like that. Now, first of all, that's impressive. It's 1972, whatever. I'm putting $100 bill on the bar, so that's right away impressive. Then I would say to them, "What are you doing Friday night?" "Nothing." "Why?" I said, "You want to go to the Copa?" "You can't get into the Copa." They said, "Tell me, what are you kidding me?" I said, "Do you want to go to the Copa Friday night?" "Yeah, I want to go to the Copa." "Can you meet me here Friday night at 8 o'clock?" And I would go and we go to the Copa. And that never failed. And that was it. Yeah. The Copa was the magic wand. Yeah.
That's the life.
Yeah, that was the life. Was the life. That was the life. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Don't forget, if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. I got a lot of new content on there. Membership start at $1. And also check out my merch, my hats, my mugs, my shirts. Christmas is coming. Don't forget about January 9th. I'm going to be out in Long Island talking about my recovery, my mob life, and a lot of good stuff. If you want to be involved, then come on out. Contact me through Anthony Ruggiano Jr. at gmail.com or go to reformgangsters.com and give us a shout out, and we'll hook it all up.